A very good afternoon to everyone. I'm Lynette Thomas from MICCI. Welcome to our webinar on enhancing security standards to achieve competitive advantage. I would like to thank all our participants today for tuning into MICCI through this Facebook live stream. For today's webinar session, we have our moderator, Mr. Chanda Murugan, the Director of Procurement of Pyramid Malaysia Sdn Bhd, located in Penang. Mr. Chanda has more than 25 years of work experience and has managed a global base of suppliers in Asia, Europe, and America. We also have two distinguished panelist speakers, Mr. Roger Lee from Singapore. He is the Director of Singapore Institute of Materials Management, and we have Mr. Sangha Kandasamy from Malaysia, who is the Managing Director of the Vanguard Services Sdn Bhd. The topics that would be covered by Mr. Roger Lee are principles of robust security standard, followed by the various security standards and the digitalisation technology which can assist companies in ensuring security standards. The second panelist speaker, Mr. Sangha Kandasamy, will be covering two topics, that is the challenges in ensuring security standards in companies and a case study on enhancement of a security standard. Ladies and gentlemen, the webinar will take approximately 1.5 hours. Each of our panelist speakers has 15 to 20 minutes to present. We would like to encourage our viewers to log into Facebook chat to post your questions, and our panelist speaker will try their best to answer them. So without further ado, I would like to hand over to our moderator, Mr. Chanda Murugan. Mr. Chanda, are you ready?
Yes, thank you, Lynette. A very good afternoon and welcome everyone to this webinar organized by MICCI. Okay, today we are pleased to welcome two special guests who will be sharing their expert opinion on enhancing security standards and to achieve competitive advantage. Without further ado, let me introduce to you our first guest speaker, Mr. Roger Lee. Mr. Roger Lee is the Director of Singapore Institute of Management and the Vice Chairman of Asia Pacific Logistics Federation. He was an entrepreneur involved in technology transfer consultancy project in Singapore last year. Roger was invited as a visiting professor to a few universities in China, specializing in logistics and supply chain management. Roger possesses an MBA from University of Starlight, UK, and a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Sydney. He had stayed in California for 5 years, managing a Singapore-based multinational electronic companies in the 90s. He is heavily involved in technology transfer projects from the USA to Singapore in high-tech industry. Apart from his busy schedule, Mr. Lee also serves as a chairman of the Incubation Center with the Singapore Institute of Technical Education and currently serves as a honorary secretary for Transport Asset Protection Association TAPA APAC. Most recently, Mr. Lee had co-authored 4 books: The Making of a Technopreneur, The Making of a Shell Life Wire Entrepreneur, World-Class Logistics and Supply Chain Management, and Knowledge Management Principles and Case Studies. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Roger Lee to start his presentation.
Let me unmute. Okay, I hope all of you can hear me. Thank you, Chanda, for the introduction, and thank you, Lynette from MICCI for the invitation. Let me share screen. All right, and then okay. All right. I hope that okay, all of you can see the slide. You know. Okay, Chandra, are you able to see the slide so far? Okay, yeah, all right. Okay, I'm going to share today on what we call digitization of security system and also some of the standards. All right, and the the introduction would be most importantly, all right, uh, what is the standard we talk about, for security. All right, there are a few standards, the ISO standards, and of course the CTPAT standards, and also the TAPA standards, and of course many other standards. Even for security right now, there's a lot of areas of what we call cyber security standard. All right, cyber security standard is also very, very important as part of the so-called logistics standard right now. So the basic model of in developing a standard is what is a three process: the people, the technology, and also the process. All right. If you look at the diagram, all right, how do we incorporate the technology in running our supply chain? All right. The three areas of optimizing supply chain: let people, talent that we leverage on technology, and then of course with the technology we incorporate to run what we call the design and the processes. All right, and this will help us to develop a what we call a integrated logistic and supply chain system, which some of you are already implementing in your own company. Okay, for a unified security management platform, all right, it encompasses, all right, what we call an ecosystem. All right, and nowadays a lot of new, I would say, new kind of businesses are evolving, development of an ecosystem, and a unified security management platform reflect an ecosystem. For example, on the top you have got mobile app, that can incorporate, many of you are security managers, and for a mobile app, if there's any compromise in your facility, how fast can you receive any information? Do you think people give you a call, or you have information straight on your mobile app? I have been involved with one of the association, which is called TAPA, TAPA, which is a protection security association. All right, and most of the security managers I talk to, I work with, and also get involved in some training in TAPA. The reflection is always, security managers in this area are always working on what we call on standby, always 24/7. Even when they go home, they're always looking out for any compromises that need to be activated. So the mobile app on the first right hand side will be very important. And of course, the intercom system, the intercom, how is it going to relate to a certified unified system, and intrusion and parameter detection. Asset management is especially the business systems, the integration tools, and of course at the front gate. Okay, the Achilles heel of most security system is actually on the front gate. The front gate, which is the security guard. Right, the security guard presents a very, very vulnerable part of the security system if it is not done well. All right, so the license plate recognition becomes very important. But very few people, we talk about digitization, very few people talk about license plate recognition. A lot of companies still use what we call Excel sheet, not even an Excel sheet, a notebook, a notepad, a notebook. And when the vehicle come in, they write the notebook. For example, the license number of the notebook, of the car. When you do that, sometimes the security guard, when they write, it depends on the security guard handwriting. Some of the handwriting is very poor, so you can't even recognize. So the best part is, under digitization, a lot of company now, invest in what we call a CCTV. The CCTV can actually recognize all the license plate that come in and out of the facility. All right, and of course you have access control, right, which is a very important part. And video with surveillance, very important. Under, for example, the TAPA standard, the video surveillance become an integral part of the TAPA standard, for example, even CTPAT. All right, and of course, dynamic graphical maps that can showcase where are the vulnerable situation. So the challenge now, some of you are working as security managers in your company right now, or some of you are GMs or CEOs. Are all these apps or all these, I would say, application, are they standalone? All right. So under the digitalization process, building the ecosystem, all these have to be linked. Uh, have to link to what we call a control tower, right? And a control tower system will look like this, right? Different kind of levels, all right? A typical basic level on visibility, the control tower, this is a picture of a control tower. Level 1, you have the visibility to events and milestones across the entire network. Level 1. Level 2, alert. You receive alert based on the service level, all right, lead times or milestone, and resolve them in real time. The speed is very important now. How fast? Level 3, decision support, execution of transaction. User make the decision of what intelligent agents recommend, right? And finally is autonomous. Intelligent agent run through the supply network without human intervention. So everything automatically moves on. So which level are you now? You ask a question. Are you at level 1, level 2, or level 3, or level 4? Unfortunately, because this is a Facebook, I would say a Facebook presentation, I am not able to solicit a poll. With the poll, you'll notice that most people right now are at level 1 visibility. Some companies are not even at level 1 at the moment. All right, so to reach to level 4, it will still take a long time, but it's a challenge to reach to level 4 if you can do that. However, a lot of times we don't need to do on our own because we have got many, I would say, experts out there. In supply chain, we have what we call the third party logistics provider, the 3PL. And of course, moving forward, the 3PL have evolved to what we call the 4PL, four party logistics provider. Similarly, for security system, there are many service providers, all right, that can provide 24/7 round the clock different level of control tower system. It depends how you work with them, how you solicit one that will be very good, that can fulfill your needs. All right, that's control tower. And the concept of control tower, it is actually a visible decision making action based on real time. All right, based on real time analytics. Okay, what it does is this. All right, it creates what you call an ecosystem under three, an ecosystem that focuses on transparency, whereby companies have visibility, to reduce the risk of potential issues. All right, and how the staff that hand the control tower can make informed decision based on the feedback from the centralized system immediately, as soon as possible. All right, recently, just 2 days ago, I'm not sure whether you guys have saw a very large news, a big news about $200-300 million of loss in UK. Not a third world country, but in UK. All right, the hijacker hijacked, right, a container of iPhones, iPad, and so on. It's a very big case. But fortunately nobody was injured. It was a very easy takeover. When you read it's very shocking. A few hundred million, and just take over, and they drive it off, and within minutes is all. I guess the whole all the parts, the Apple FG, the finished goods are all dissipated very quickly. Of course, the police get involved and so on, and of course Apple get involved. So this is how fast, I would say, people who want to compromise your security move at this moment, right? So it's very interesting. I guess we hear this every day, and this is a challenge for us to see what are the areas we can do to improve our security system. Okay, for example, all right, this is a typical control tower system. All right, 24/7. It's how many security guards are present. You have a GPS system. You got entry, exit control, high value observation over how many locations you have. This is a typical control tower system which you have. But of course, the most important, when you have this control tower, it is the speed in which you can make decisions if there's a compromise. I think that's the key, because the control tower can't make a decision for you. They can only monitor, right? And then you rely on some of these people that manage your control tower. All right. Under what we call security transformation, the challenge now for us is this: how do we present our security transformation? Okay, there are four quadrants here. First is what we call cost reduction. Second is brand protection. Third is organizational integration. And last but not least is regulatory compliance. So the security transformation, no company can do it alone. You really have to work very closely with different people. For example, if you are if you are doing security for a bank, or if you are a third-party logistics provider guarding a bank, for example, there are many regulatory compliances you need to, because the bank require regulatory compliances. But of course, at this time of COVID-19, all right, under what you call cost reduction, the challenge for security managers, I talked to a lot of them. The key challenge is this, all right? Okay, thank you. I got 10 more minutes, all right? I will make sure that I'm on time. All right, so the key challenge is, what is the cost reduction, and the challenge is this: when there's a budget, in terms of COVID now, people want to cut down budget, which area do you think they will cut? A lot of times they will cut down the security system. People cannot see the return, so I think that's a big challenge. So for security managers under cost reduction, you really have to work very well through third-party logistics people or third-party security people, how to enhance your value added. At the same time, present to management, if you reduce the cost, right? If you reduce the cost, what is your exposure in terms of, for example, theft? If you can magnify this using a figure, that would be very helpful, so that company will not cut your budget. If they cut your budget, what is the exposure you can? And not only that, your brand protection. If they cut your budget, you lose your brand. People will not put their consignment or their goods in your company, for example. So you lose your brand, and so on and so forth. All right. So this will be quite challenging. All right. Okay. What is the scene now? All right. There are many government institutions, for example, CTPAT, AEO, STP. Since 9/11, there's what we call increased security in supply chain and tighter control coming up. And right now with the COVID-19, more control, because even China recently will say that we need security system to check all the food product to make sure that the food product are not contaminated. It's a security system. So if you deal with food, you're a third-party logistics provider, you have to study what is the implication. So it's very, very challenging nowadays for security system. All right. And of course, the security risk in the supply system. All right. Okay. Each system of the supply face security. What are the risks on the road? The warehouse. You got vandalism, theft. The border, you got smuggling, truck trafficking, and fraud. And the warehouse, you have got disruption. Air, ocean. On the road, especially in Malaysia, Intel lost a couple of container, with the CPUs, for example. So all these are very big challenges on the road, being hijacked and so on. So how do we look at these challenges? Okay, where's the crime? All right, the areas of crime. Do you have, for example, joining with any association and so on to reflect, where is the crime rate? Where are the areas? There are many government institutions, associations that got all this crime rate. That later on, I think Sangha will share a little bit under some of the TAPA standard. All right, and then the new rules to China, a lot of new rules coming up, and these new rules present a lot of security challenges, in terms of the Silk Route and so on. How do we ensure, you can travel from China, a city called Zhengzhou, all the way up to Hamburg right now, through the road. So this present different challenges. All right, also theft, the trucks, for example. And why any logistics company needs security, in terms of analysis. The analysis will be the three kinds of people. Number one, those who let it happen. All right. So as security managers, I think we will not be under number one. Those who make it happen, I think we try to be number two. We have to set up and make it happen to ensure that we are protected. And last but not least, those who wonder what happened. And this will be very serious. If you are under category 3, your domain knowledge of security will be very, very bad state. Right? So tell me, what kind of people are you? The worrisome part is paragraph 3. After the compromise, you scratch your head and wonder what happened. All right. So what is the system we need to have? So under what, for example, the TAPA security standard, you have got what we call a couple of sections. All right, the section 1 deals with what we call management support, responsibility. Section 2 talks about security standard. Section 3 talks about training. Section 4 talks about human resource. Section 5 talks about health and safety. Section 6 and 7 talk about optional. For example, cyber security. So here, in order to have a whole ecosystem build up, the whole complete ecosystem that you need to build up have to include even training, procedures, and human resource. Human resource meaning you have to select people whom you trust. You have to select people whom you have integrity, a lot of reference check. All right. So whatever control tower system you have, if your training procedure is not up to date, if your human resource factor is not up to date, you will have a lot of compromise. So that's the reason why do people sign up for a certification, whether is it ISO, whether is it TAPA, or whether it's CTPAC, is to enhance your security system, to make sure you tell people that you are TAPA standard, you tell people you are CTPAC standard, you tell people you are ISO standard, and so on and so forth, so that people will trust you. At the same time, you trust your own people, you trust your own processes. So I think that's a good challenge now to get involved in the standard. All right. So more or less, I've finished my part. I think I'm just nice. I know 10 minutes is gone, and I will leave it more for questions. Right. I will leave it to Chanda to share. Should I do it later or do it now? All right. So I will stop share now.
I think if the audience has already posted the questions, then we can start the Q&A now.
Okay.
Right.
So far, there's no question. All right. Maybe we let Sangha present that first. If you think it's okay, then we have the final part to present the rest. Is it okay? So far?
Roger, maybe I have a question, Roger.
Sure.
Okay, just now you mentioned that the example, real case where you mentioned that this Apple or iPhone.
Yeah. Recently.
Europe. If you look at people like Apple, they are a tier one company, right?
Absolutely.
Cash rich, and obviously they engage the highest level of security companies.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to digitalization, they must be very good. But even with this kind of companies, how could this thing happen?
Yes. I think we have a lot of dialogue with different people after this happened, and there's a saying, under cybersecurity, for example, if someone wants to attack you in cybersecurity, they will be able to attack you. But on the other hand, you have to have a lot of system in place so that the rate of attacking is minimized. For example, the rate is actually minimized. If you don't have all the system in place, it will be far worse. So in what we call a process, in every processes, all right. For example, a typical example in cybersecurity, if you have got, for example, a attack, you have what we call antivirus, right? And then the hacker will develop a higher level of virus to attack you, and then you have Norton as well to protect. It's actually an ongoing thing. So off and on, there will be possibility that there will be compromise. But of course, you have to measure after how many years is one compromise. If you have it every month, every 2 weeks, then you're in serious trouble, right? So whatever it is, there will be compromise. You cannot. It's not easy to bridge all the gap. But I believe, like what you said, Apple and the third-party logistics provider would already have addressed a lot of gaps, but one or two times they managed to penetrate. But the thing is after penetration, they miss it. How fast do you think they can recover the goods? That yet to open, because we are not sure yet. All right. So I believe that with that comment, it gives us more motivation to ensure that we really work very hard to have that system in place in the protection process. In fact, we cannot let go anymore with this case study. Work harder, that's all.
So in other words, what you're saying that what we can do with all the systems is to minimize and mitigate, but we cannot eliminate.
Very hard, very difficult, impossible. Yeah, very hard.
Okay. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
All right. Let me introduce our second speaker today, our guest speaker, Mr. Sangar Kandasamy. He is the Managing Director of Vanguard Services, Sdn Bhd. Mr. Sangar Kandasamy graduated from the National University of Malaysia with a master degree in psychology. He has more than 25 years of experience in the supply chain security industry. He was a superintendent of Royal Malaysian Customs from 1992 to 2000, and he's now the managing director of two companies, which is Vanguard Logistics Sdn Bhd and Vanguard Logistics Singapore Private Limited. He is an expert in security cross-border logistics and supply chain, and in asset protection management. His business interests go across Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Laos, Vietnam, Philippines, Nepal, India, China, and the rest Asian countries. Recently, Mr. Sanger is concurrently the TAPA APEC Board of Directors as the honorary treasurer. Mr. Sanger has completed the trainers program in TAPA and is certified to teach in the TAPA courses. He has experience in teaching the FSR, ASR, and GSR certification in various companies in Malaysia and Singapore. He is also a certified HRDF trainer for 2019 and also for ISO 28000-2007, Security Management Systems and Supply Chain. Now I will invite Mr. Sanger to start his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chandan. Thanks for the intro. Roger, is Roger there? I think Roger need to share the slides.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, you want me to share the slide? Or
Yes.
Oh, I will share the slide. Yeah. Okay. Just a minute, Okay. Let me share the slide for you.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for a glitch. Roger. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So I will be taking over the second phase of the presentation, which will encompass the challenges and also the mitigation measures, that is how companies can use the best practices, and of course with some case studies for the understanding and digestion of the members. Okay. Yeah. Okay. First phase will be the adaptive security architecture, where you have preventive, prevent, then detect, respond, and predict. So basically, if you look at the architecture, which helps the organization for existing potential risk, okay, to ensure there is a balanced approach, okay, to security control measures and to mitigate the security. See, as what Roger has said, our challenge today is budget. If a company has big budget, yes, you can have the best. You can have Fort Knox as a standard, but security is a support to the business and for business continuation to move the business resilience and sustainability without having any impact to the business. Okay, the functionality process of functionality and process of prevention category reduces the attack surface. So what it does is it gives you, when you have the hardening of system, isolating of system, prevention of attacks, so it makes your target hardening, and it blocks your company from threats that before you impact to enterprise overall. All right. So the next one will be detection. Detection should reduce and dwell time threats. That means you will delay, defer, so that you can bring in possible and you will cost minimum possible. So for a perpetrator or for a person who is trying to do something bad to your business or supply chain business or in your business, all right, then they will do a risk assessment, because they also do risk assessment. They also do how vulnerable is your company's process of security. Okay, how many layers do you all have? It's like an onion. You have layer 1, layer 2, layer 3. Then they'll find the penetration to be much tougher. Okay, next will be the response capability. The response capabilities need to investigate. I mean, you need to investigate, and then possibility of the remedials. What are the control measures that you have? Discover, including your forensic analysis, root analysis, why, okay, analysis, okay, recommend preventive measures, which is adequate and for your establishment or for your enterprise. The final will be to be predictive. How do we predict? This is where technology comes in. Like how Roger has informed, now we have a control tower, we have technology, we have AI, artificial intelligence, facial recognition, where they share among networking, among security supply chain establishment, they share the risk, the type of risk, the modus operandi. So all those type of things, then you know the pattern, seasonal, those are information where you have real time, which you can incorporate so that the information that you gain in a supply chain security community will respond to real time events. Okay, and then you can anticipate and take proper action. Yeah, next please. Okay, what is security? Yeah, basic question. What is security? Security is freedom from danger. Danger of what? To make you feel free. I mean, you can move out to a place, you can move in and out without any fear, any resilience against a potential harm that caused by others. It can be a planned, unplanned, or it can also be syndicated, unsyndicated. All right. So all those type of things that to make sure that you are not part of and your business is not interrupted due to this type of unforeseen or untoward incidents. Security of persons, groups, social groups, objects, institution, ecosystem, and other entity vulnerable to unwanted changes. So again, here's unwanted changes because you want process to be status quo. You want the process to be in your control, not to be out of your control. Yeah. Security plan is one of the most pivotal in the whole security setup. What is it? To articulate how, okay, a security risk to be managed and how security alignment to your priorities and objectives. Every enterprise have your stakeholder and your clients, you have a contractual understanding. And you will know the degree of security that you need to put in. The question asked earlier by the moderator is a very pertinent question, in the sense that why with all those systems you still have possibilities? Because security process, security procedure, security system, security ecosystem changes. It changes every time. And the perpetrators are also changing and evolving in a very drastic manner. All right. So that is where item number 2 is important, B is important, where you need an SOP. An SOP is standard operating procedure relating to the physical, cyber, and procedural security. And this SOP has to be revisited yearly, at least twice, to be audited. You should have audits to see where your gaps are, okay, to identify and manage the risk, to assist decision making by applying an appropriate control, effective and consistent. So whether the control which your process you're having 5 years ago, whether it is adequate, whether it can deter, detect, delay, deny, all those 4 Ds in security, can it do it? No, if you can't, then you have to see and enhance, adapting to changes while safeguarding the delivery of business and services. So adaptation, it has to be a continuous adaptation, all right? Improving resilience to threat, vulnerabilities, and challenges. So you need to be on the ball. We need to be on the ball. Security practitioners need to be on the ball. You need to know, because you are the ear and eye and the advisor to your company, right? Most critical is mitigation measures. What is mitigation? To minimize or reduce the impact. So if something is going to come and hit you full dose, so with all these controls, you mitigate, so you make sure that your enterprise will not collapse with one attack, right? To ensure the safety of cargo, supply chain business, and those contracting their services would aim to carry out a baseline measure aimed at increasing resilience, okay, in the supply chain and fulfilling the duty of a care obligation and employees and contractors. You see, we have a obligation, a moral and obligation to our staff and to our contractors. At the same time, we also have our contractual agreement obligation to our clients, and we have a performance obligation to our stakeholders. So basically all these 3 entities have to move together. To measures to achieve These could include: one, true due diligence prior to recruitment of staff, given a growing insider threat. Okay, at all potential business agencies providing drivers. Drivers are the one who moves their goods. Okay, you have third-party drivers, can be your in-house drivers, or you can be a contracted drivers. Okay, these include both contracted company or individuals. Third-party providers conducting detailed investigation is deemed. So today, a lot of cases like the case that Roger has highlighted, chip manufacturer. Okay, that's totally insider thing, and they have ready buyers to move to buy. So it's all a pre-scheduled, a very timely and very meticulously planned process. So it's something that through due diligence of recruitment of staff and doing their background check, risk assessment is important. Subscribing to a threat monitoring system, providing the latest information and recent incident, location, and modus operandi of the threat operators. You see, this is key. We are living in a country, but our goods and your product moves in various zones. So in certain areas, there are vulnerabilities, there are demands. So if you have a monitoring service where they share information and recent incidents, so you can take adequate action, right, to protect your goods. Okay. Security awareness training, key, along supply chain, including contractors. This would aim to increase individual organization awareness, okay, to threats, staff empowered with senior management report, and then you can also you can have the whistleblower process. You can also look at behavioral changes, whether your staff is suddenly coming in, suddenly very posh, spending his time. So these are all indications. These are all red flags that you can observe, and you can do your initial or your follow-up checks and all. Journey management is very important. Live tracking of the vehicles and shipments, drivers, routes, the geofence, so you don't allow them to move as they wish. It's a controlled move. Management should also be able to monitor the live progress and investigate abnormalities, as I explained earlier. Suddenly, they are traveling frequently, the whole family moves. I mean, you need to ask, where is the source of fund is coming in from, okay? And if he is lucky, he gets a jackpot, then well enough, you record that. If you know, then you see maybe he has a godfather who's feeding him to do some information, or because of to do some privilege operation, or to do some insiders information. So all this you can deter, and you can take countermeasures. Okay, personal safety training for staff members most at risk. Information, common threat or vectors, appropriate response to ensure. So these are all areas, the frontline officers when they are there. Okay, contingency planning and awareness. With staff trained on how to respond on the event of incident, along with the contract list system. This is most important, right? Escalation, contingency planning and all. Ensuring individuals, drivers, management have appropriate contact and information for all emergency and appropriate contact information and service along the route, including national variation and relevant country codes. Okay, coordinating with other organizations, stakeholders, and supply chain partners to increase information sharing, align standards, and maximize the available resources. So these are all similar to how we tackle the risk. Right now, I'd like to take you I have 3 case studies, and I open up the case studies into 3 categories. Okay, the first one will be supply chain security, where you can see Malaysia used to be the hotspot of hijacking of trucks or cargoes early 1990s and early 2000 up to 2010, and we have already taken a lot of measures, and we have mitigated a lot, and now those losses is reduced on road, but it has increased through the awareness and mandatory adaptation of security technology, GPS, communication, two-way communication, okay, GPS on the truck, GPS on the trailer, GPS on the cargo. So all those things makes the perpetrator not to target your goods when it's in transit. But nevertheless, the cargo losses are still on the rise. Why? Because there is huge demand in the grey and black market. The modus operandi has become more sophisticated and very niche and tailor-made. All right, thieves can now pose as legitimate carrier. Okay, pick up. They steal an unattended trailer. Okay, and then they can also work in a class. Last year we have a case in the sense that a customer in a very high industrial area with high security, they have ordered every day a 20-footer truck. I mean a 20-foot, 10-tonner. But this transporter of his, the appointed transporter, sends a 40-footer. So you see, in that 40-footer, there is a partition after the 10 feet where people are seated inside. So when a cargo is kept in, so they work on those cargoes, they reseal, they do all while this cargo is in transit to the airport. So look at that, how innovative. They are just thinking out of the box. They're looking at ways how, if you have this type of controls, how to overcome. Okay, second, cargo theft can also be accompanied by individuals who are less organized. Okay, in lane where sometimes you just pay them, tell them that I need 2 boxes of this, that with the drivers, I need this marking, plan, or it can be throughout a syndicated operations where they hit your truck or you hit your consignment, they will not ship it directly. They will take to a location and they will do value-added processes. So they will do it, they will start doing some touch-up and repacking, and then selling it to the final user. All right. So what is the motivation factor here? The motivation factor here basically is to delay prolonged investigation by law, and LEA means law enforcement agencies. It can be either customs, it can be police, it can be the border control parties, okay, criminal too, so that, you see, when you become a criminal act, a theft, it becomes under a serious crime. So, but it becomes as documentation fraud, then it becomes a CBT. CBT, they will ask for documents to validate the documents by the time your cargo is already on a move. So they are buying time, all right? Or an insurance claim. What they will do is they already move your goods and then they do a fake accident. So when they do a fake accident, it becomes a road transport or traffic claim on the damage of goods, or the goods are stolen, or the goods are taken by the passerbyers and all. So they are quite smart and they are quite diligent in the way they create this. Yeah. The next case study will be, Roger, can I have the next slide? Thank you. Next one. Okay, thank you. Second one. Okay. Illicit trade. Illicit trade and financial crimes. This is the biggest money movement. Where they do, what are they doing? You can look in Malaysian environment, they're sending all those e-rejects, e-dumping, all those type of things. Those are all illicit trades. Even smuggling of contrabands, cigarettes, high dutiable items where the taxes are high. Okay, they also carry human. So money laundering and terrorist financing, they always use this source so that it's fast for them. There's no traceable. It's not that you can't do any auditing trace. All right, and you don't know who is the source, where is it coming from. Okay, because the money is moved through the system very fast. So everybody in activity. So if my job is a forklift driver, I only do forklift. They only tell me to carry this box and put it there. I paid for that activity. If you are a truck driver, you only do that portion. If you are, so they open up the component of activities. So tomorrow, if the law enforcement agencies nab a person, he's only doing that particular thing. He said, I am paid X amount of dollars just to do this. So just imagine that the trail is to get until the perpetrator, you don't have the product. So when you don't have the product, you can't charge them. Okay, but in Malaysia, good, we have under POCA and SOSMA, under the economic risk and POCA, we are able to get and nab them, and we are able to seize their assets and their family members' assets if the money is transferred to another party. All right. So basically, what is the motivation here? The tax invasion, one. Billions of ringgit is lost for a country because we need tax for our development, for our enhancement, and the criminal using more sophisticated to avoid detection of illegal products coming in through the country, and and they're using our country as a transit. So all that we have to deter. Next. Case study number 3 will be the most easiest. That means you don't go into physically, you hit from outside. This is cyber security. Okay, it's a pervasive threat. Countries lack with unified reporting database. You don't have firewall. You don't have your process of malwares in place. Don't upgrade your malwares, then you get freaked. The people will just change your emails, your company email. They just add in one alphabet. Sometimes how many of us are looking at emails whether this is actual? The name is actual. Maybe www. Your name is at one company alphabet. They change. Right? You won't know. So information, once they go in, then you download the content, the attachment, malicious attachment, and then you click, it goes into the system. And once you get into the system, they're able to hold you a ransom. Then they ask for ransomware. How many companies, they normally pay? Who is going to make the report saying that? Because your brand integrity is there. Your clients are not going to have trust in you. All right? Next. Okay. How do we stop this pervasive problem from affecting you? Very simple. As saying goes, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. There's no single product that can provide a complete security solution. All right. Supply chain service providers should partner with competent partners to deliver a comprehensive, interoperable solution or solutions to the end customer. That is the mantra. You have to work with your service partner, everybody with the same system, in the same mindset, and the same level of security. Okay. Solutions for supply chain challenges. I've broken down into 4 solutions. 1, monitor your global incidents. Keep abreast. You have to be on the ball. Keep abreast on the hundreds of global incidents added to the platform. Either it's covering civil unrest, crime, terrorism, or war. So all this we'll know, because all of them, they need money. So they need to run this type of activities. So they will use countries which is peaceful for them to launder or move them to get the money. Capture incident affecting your organization or products. Okay, you might not be your company or your enterprise, but your product nature is such. So that suddenly there is a black market or a gray market demand, huge. So you know, okay, there has been incidences happening not here. It can be a few thousand kilometers, maybe in Africa, in South Asia, or even in South America. But you should be able to upload conversation so that the records analyze the threat, look at the type of threat, put in controls, call in your service providers, have a discussion with them, put in the extra controls to mitigate and to deter this challenge. Yeah. Next. Refer to analysis and forecast of ratings. Very, very important. See, all your service providers, your LSP, service level agreements that you have, every month you have a operational review or quarterly business review. You should analyze their performance. So that will be their performance. There will be a checklist, and you will weight them, seeing where the gaps, and then you are doing audits, your internal audits. You're also getting external auditors to come in to see whether the process gap, there's abnormalities. Okay, and then also to see whether this whole area where your goods is moving, whether it's operationally safe, whether at night or morning or festive season, you find vessels are not coming in, or during seasons where you have environment challenges like typhoons, floods, all those type of things will give you a heads up. Okay, the last will be the leveraging of supply chain standards. Okay, develop a tactical and strategic risk. Manage your program with the help of supply chain standards to improve your company's bottom line. Simple. If you have a standard keeps you above water. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I pass the thing to the moderator, Mr. Chandan.
Yeah, Chandra, you're on mute.
Thank you, Sundar. I think we have some questions from the audience. Probably I think we can try to answer those questions.
Sure.
Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, this is a question. I think I will direct this question to Roger. Will the use of blockchain technology improve the security of information transfer on the internet?
Okay. I think very good question. You know, blockchain. All right, the blockchain basically able to what we call determine the source. The blockchain system is able to determine where the source come from. For example, using the blockchain for security system, you can know where is the key source that start the compromise, for example. So therefore, but however, for the blockchain in security, it is not so common yet. All right, the blockchain in for example supply chain, you know, is more common. The blockchain in supply chain meaning if you eat your fruits, where your fruit come from, which state, which country, what are the standards and so on, the blockchain will be able to determine or in collaboration. But blockchain in security not so common at the moment, but there are many developers that are developing it right now. All right, okay, thanks, Chandra.
Roger, on the same subject, now if you're talking about this blockchain security, in order for these logistic provider or companies to invest into the blockchain system, is it a lengthy process and what is the cost?
Oh, okay. Typically, right now, to develop your own blockchain is going to be very, very tough. So, for example, you want to send you want to send a Excel sheet, Excel sheet. You want to send an Excel sheet. You don't develop your own Excel sheet. You use Microsoft Excel. You key in, and then you send out. So, similarly for blockchain, there are experts out there that develop what we call blockchain standards. So, what you need to do is to work with the blockchain people that develop the blockchain and incorporate your requirement, your specification together with them, because very few people want to develop their own blockchain standard because it takes too much, too much of energy and effort. So therefore, you work with suppliers out there that have got what we call a generic blockchain, and then you give your specification. They will revise the generic blockchain to adapt to your standard. This typically right now that is happening.
Thank you, Roger. I think there's another question which is related to Industry 4.0. I will also direct this to Roger. What information technologies in the field of Industry 4.0 are used to improve in the logistics?
Okay, so for example, under security standard, the Industrial 4.0, yeah, the bare minimum, all right, if we talk about is actually sensors, right? The Industry 4.0, you talk about sensors, sensors got passive and active sensors, all right? So very basic is this, ability for your truck as you travel long distance and so on. If there's a compromise, the sensor will be activated, and activated sensor go through the cloud system or through the network system, and then activate your control tower, and then straight away you know what's happening on the spot. And at the same time, there are technology right now that do what I call video. Video on the spot. Any one time when you travel, during the compromise, activate the video, and then you can see what's happening to the car. Another one is what we call seal. Every container have a seal. All right, the seal normally are the plastic part. Under ISO standard, ISO TAPA standard, you have the ISO standard for the seal. But now people don't use the normal seal. They use what we call e-seal, electronic seal. So electronic seal, when there is a compromise, immediately you will shoot up the control tower. You don't have to wait for people to discover. Immediate control tower will know that electronic seal. So these are all the IoT application that you can use. From seal to video camera, is coming up in a very big way right now.
Okay, thank you, Roger. I think I have another question which I will direct to Mr. Sanger. How to better integrate or transform the supply chain management activities within the organization from product design, marketing, and product launch and product delivery to customers, so that the whole process is not only cost optimized, but also takes the least amount of time.
Okay, basically today's world, I understand where they're coming from, is end-to-end solution. So we used to be B2B, now B2C. So basically it's B2C, it involves a lot of handling, because products you're using multiple sources you're using couriers, those days you move your goods in bulk and all. Okay, the principle is the same. The principle is the same. The principle where if you use the framework which we are using the framework of adaptive architecture for security. If we're using that, the whole process mapping is done from end to end. I mean, from your upstream, your midstream to your downstream. So your upstream will be your arrival of your manufacturing. I mean, you have raw materials, you have to do manufacturing, and all. Then you come to the midstream. I mean, you have all those processes. You have your buy-off from your production, your QC, then coming into your store, then putting in the process into your local. Either you're going into a GDC or you're going into a final distribution to your consumer, then collected by FedExes or contact TNTs or any integrators or your LSPs, or even can be collected by a local transport company. So all those, and everyone who works or who like to participate in your business have to follow a certain regime, a standard regime. So likewise, if we are going into a midstream, I mean midstream, we are going into distribution hubs, GD, I mean distribution hubs where your goods are. So the whole process here, Mr. Anand, is basically the handshake, the custodian of goods. The handshake has to be very, very clear. So once the handshake is clear, everybody in their operational side on doing the supply chain has to be aware, and they have to be diligent. If they find something which is not right, immediately they have to disposition and address it. So that's how I look at it, as we are able to move, and millions of products are moving today. Products are no more moving as a bulk. You are doing online booking, online query. Your products are coming with high integrity. Okay, it's not your products are many of time you'd go into your customs checkpoints and the border checkpoints and all. They go in. They're using technology. They're using scanners. Now the scanning machine with the gamma, they can see what type of product is inside there. So the gamma with a very low radiation will know whether it's a contraband, whether it is a permissible product, and they will cross-check against the documents. So those are controls that we put in, and training and awareness is also important. Right?
All right. Okay. Thank you. I do not see any more questions coming from the audience. If you all have any questions, you all can post now, because we still have time to answer the questions, and you can make this section more interactive.
There's one more. From the chat. What will be the future of self-driving trucks in logistics? How delivery robots can be used in the delivery? Right, that's one. How will the future of self-driving truck? Okay, I think I'll answer this one. The self-driving trucks right now is actually a game changer. And companies that are involved in self-driving trucks, for example, Tesla. Tesla is actually building a lot of self-driving trucks right now, but still not commercialized yet. But that's the future. All right. The future is actually very, very exciting, because we are talking about, for example, in the past we use what we call fax machine. Fax. Some young people, when I tell them what is fax machine, they don't understand what is fax. They never seen it before. But the technology is very old already. But nowadays nobody use fax machine, because we use the PDF, for example. So we talk about the future of what we call the trucks, the self-driving trucks. It means that right now the present shortages, in across all over the world, actually is drivers. The drivers have got problem right now. Number one, fatigue, accidents, and so on. All right. So the technology is right now moving very fast. Not only in America, in China, all right, in Germany, they are using what we call self-driving truck that is very fail-safe. There will be accident, of course. Even human being driving trucks will have accident. But the self-driving truck in future will give us a lot of opportunity in future to ensure safety is good. And then we have got what we call a very, very good delivery pattern, because self-driving truck won't get tired. Human being get tired, for example. And then at the same time, ability to have what we call IoT. Somebody mentioned about the Internet of Things, that we can monitor very closely. So I think we are not seeing it in the next year or the year after next, but a lot of development are actually moving. Some people don't believe that self-driving truck will exist. But I personally, my own opinion is yes, it is. In Singapore, we are already doing quite a few of this self-driving within universities and so on. It's looking very optimistic, all right? And that's the future. And one more technology, we call it drones, all right? A lot of people are using drones right now in the delivery and so on because of what we call the last mile delivery, all right? For example, DHL, FedEx, and so on. They are developing, putting millions of dollars in what called developing the drone technology. And right now, what they need is actually what we call what is the name, the approval, the standard approval to have drones to move around. So that will help us a lot to make sure that our cities are not congested. So government is pushing very hard. All right, that's from my side. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Roger. But probably on these autonomous or self-driving cars or trucks, right? Let's say I've attended one seminar on 4.0 probably 2 years ago in somewhere in Germany or Europe. They already started to use this self-driving trucks for delivery.
Okay.
So would it be the risk higher for this kind of self-driving trucks to be hijacked?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Yes and no. But number one is this: you look at the perspective. Number one is human life. When people get hijacked, people die. Sometimes they take the gun, they shoot you, right? People die. So risk of hijack actually is minimized because there's no human life inside. Right? Human life to me is the top. We work in all companies. Safety is the top. Number one, we save human life. Number two, of course, there'll be compromises, hijack, and so on. There must be system to be in place before it's going to be rolled out. So I believe in the system. But the safety part will be actually quite good. To ensure safety. That's the key. I feel.
All right. Okay, I think there's another question. I will direct it to
Sangha.
Can big data technology be helpful in the processes of restructuring and improving logistic or the functioning of production processes?
Yes, obviously, technology is key. With technology, we can do a lot of systems and processes can be controlled, and we have real-time updates, and you are able to have a predictive methodology. You see, previously when we started, all of us have 20 over years. When we started, we used to be a reactive sort of logistics. When an incident happened, then we go in, look into the cameras, see where's the incident, and then go through the cameras and see where the incident is happening. Oh, not here. Then look into all the documents and all. Okay, and then putting in a lot of controls after that. And in early 2005 into 2010 and all, then they became proactive. So they have systems who sort of will preempt your basically, okay, there's this in this period of time. Okay, now you find that there's a lot of movement at night. You're having a lot of cases, so they restrict. Or night you don't have. Night you're moving, you put countermeasures. Today's thing is predictive because we have the big data, blockchain, big data, the IoTs, and all those things which they incorporate, they interface it into your supply chain, and you are able to give some predictive measures. Then you give them some forecast. Okay, you know that this type of volumes are coming in fast. Like you can see, past few months, you can see 9/11, 11/11, 8/88, all those type of things. You can see all those in supply chain are crazy moving. There will be heavy movement of vehicles on the road because of this type of festive season and all. So a lot of planning can be done, and you can also do a lot of resourceful planning where you book your POs. You can do for your raw materials planning and all. And then if say your vessels are coming in today's market with COVID, and you find that the biggest hit is the sea freight, all right, and air freight, because they're not having frequent flights. Sea freight, not because of the vessels are not able to move. It's able to move. The containers are not there. They're not able to pull back the containers. So the freight charges are going up. So the bell curve here, now you do a cost saving, suddenly the bell curve had gone up to optimize. Now is running very lateral, where the cost is just going up and all. So whatever you all have saved. So this is something that with the big chain and blockchain data, and we can use that for a benefit. Of course, technology is the way forward. Yeah.
Thank you, Sangar. But I think on talking about big data, I think it's a very interesting subject. But I think this is actually, we are talking about digitalization, right? But for bigger companies like Tier 1, they are capable of doing this. They have the investment, they have the top management support. How smaller companies will go about looking at big data, because I don't think so it is cheap and the process is not so fast. It takes time.
You see, Mr. Moderator, actually, once you sign an NDA with a client of yours, so most of them are using either SAP or any system, right? For them to extend the digitalization, because you're only doing one process or a small process of their supply chain or their activity, the production activity and all right? So what you do is, there is a thing called that you're integrating. You integrate. The integrating costs and educational costs and enhancing the awareness and training of your skill sets, I mean upskilling your people, is not high. Because that, whether you like it or not, you want to be in the business, it is competitive, very competitive business, you have to move. The whole big thing is run by the principal or the customer, all right? But rightfully said by Roger, now there are a lot of parties outside who are able to lease it. So you lease it, will not be your capex cost, it will be your opex cost. All right, then you factor your opex, that cost, into your operations pricing. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Sangha. Okay, I think there's one more question, but probably I think there's something missed out on the question. I'll try to ask this question to Roger. Would the use of blockchain technology robust enough to prevent, I think probably prevent theft or hijacking? Probably I'll try to finish the question there.
Okay, I think the question would be, typically, would the blockchain technology able to enhance security? Because like what Sangha have mentioned, all right, the security system, the process is really in place most of the time. So we are actually looking for more tool, all right, to enhance the existing system, all right. So the blockchain security system, using the blockchain security system to see, the question is, will it enhance what we have now? The response to this is yes, it is. Why? Because the ability to what Sangha is saying, able to predict, because the blockchain technology able to develop the series of steps, that look at what we call the final compromise. All right, with the blockchain, you will be able to identify which is the step, because you can identify all the steps, because blockchain is actually transparent. Which step is the most vulnerable? And then you in that respect, if that particular step, they go to compromise always happen, right? So you can zero into this step. What is this area that you really need to put a lot of attention? For example, in Tapa, they have what we call IIS. That means a security system that tell you which route is the most vulnerable, right? So if you have a vulnerable route over there, right, from Penang to Kedah, or from Penang to Kulim Industrial Park, there will be, it's a long road, for example, certain part of that road have got the highest incident. So what do you do? When your people reach that road, you can proactive, that means you activate an escort down there, or you have certain areas that you can see to give extra protection. After that road, you can go on already, for example. But this need to have a lot of what you call data, and blockchain can identify this part of the data to identify and say that which part of the road. But don't forget, like what Sangha said, people, the perpetuals, the people who want to compromise you will be thinking of many other areas, So you have to always move one step advance, what are the areas, I think that's the challenge for security people, to enhance that.
Okay, thank you, Roger. I think we do not have any further questions, but I would say that today's presentation, we did learn a lot of things, and something that new, or something that's happening all the while. Based on the takeaway from this today's webinar, I would say we need to have a standard for the security, and also digitalization is very important, like what you mentioned on the control tower system, and preventing is also very, very important. And what Mr. Sangha brought up, one of the, like he mentioned, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So very interesting talk. So we would like to thank both our speakers today, Mr. Roger and Mr. Sangha Kandasamy, for an insightful and informative presentation. Thank you. So now I hand over to Lynette.
Thank you, Mr. Chanda, and thank you everyone for tuning in. We have come to the end for today's webinar. I hope you have found this webinar fruitful. Once again, on behalf of MICCI, I'd like to thank Mr. Chanda Murugan for moderating the session today, and our speakers, Mr. Sangha Kandasamy and Mr. Roger Lee, for the insightful and enlightening and comprehensive presentations. Thank you all. We'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.